How's it going, guys? Welcome back to Crafted Cars. In today's video, we got some big news. I got some QuickJacks, and I'm parting out the Civic. Now don't worry, I'm not selling the Civic. I just need to free up some space in the garage for some big upcoming projects, and I mean big upcoming projects. However, I will be selling the Turbo V16 swap and some other components off the Civic to pay for the next generation of the Civic, which is where I'm turning it into a rear-wheel drive chassis. So that's pretty big news. But yeah, let's begin the video by talking about my QuickJack experience. So these QuickJacks are going to be a game changer for me. If you're working on Civics or sedans or vehicles with a little longer wheelbase, make sure you get the 5000 TLX model. I accidentally got the 5000 TL, so I had to get some frame extenders to reach the 66-inch span of the pinch weld. But assembling these QuickJacks is really no issue as long as you have the instruction manual and some good open-end wrenches and Allen wrenches. However, I do recommend double checking every fitting, every cylinder, and basically everything you can, all the components in the system. I'll talk about that more later. Now, once I got the QuickJack frames lifting all right, I figured the perfect way to test them would be lifting the Civic in the air and start pulling components off the car, including pulling out our B16 swap. Oh, this is so cool. This is so cool. Now, while overall my QuickJack experience was pretty dang good, I did run into some issues, some of them my fault and some of them that could have been addressed at the manufacturing facility. So first things first, my plug does not have a ground pin on it. A little dangerous. It's an easy, cheap fix, but just something to note. On top of that, when you start lifting and bleeding and working with the system, make sure that this little valve here is unscrewed quite a bit. I just had it cracked a little bit and it wasn't venting properly, causing some issues with the cylinders, wanting to kind of suck back in after extending. So yeah, that's another thing to check. I think on the new QuickJack units, they have an auto venting valve, so you don't got to worry about that. That vent valve is also the fill port. So just one thing to take note of. I only had one of my fittings leak, so that was pretty good. Just make sure that you use a healthy amount of PTFE tape on there and don't cover the actual hole where the fluid's got to go through. So that was all right. After retaping that one fitting, we were good to go. I think maybe I just didn't have enough tape on it. The threads were kind of cutting right through the tape. Another big thing I had going on was these hydraulic cylinders also work side by side with an air spring. So this is a 50-pound air spring. You got to charge it up yourself, but mine was actually pre-charged from the factory, and it had a little more than 50 PSI in it. So I had to bleed out a little air, no big deal. It was working fine when I was doing the Civic, but there was a couple times when I was setting the Civic down that the left side would drop a lot faster than the right side, and it got a little sketchy. I was trying to figure out for the life of me what was going on. I rebled the system like 20 times. I was getting kind of frustrated with it, and eventually I had these QuickJacks compressed up against the wall, And just as a test to see if any hydraulic fluid was leaking between these cylinders, which some users have reported, I unscrewed the Schrader valve. And I noticed I did have a little air leaking from the Schrader valve, so make sure you take this apart, retape it, and reassemble. That is assembled from the factory, but it just wasn't tight enough. But that wasn't the main problem with these air cylinders. Like I said, once I had them up against the wall and I took the Schrader valve off, a bunch of fluid leaked out. At least a couple tablespoons of, I don't know if it was machining oil and condensation, but it might have just been from when this was assembled at the factory and pre-charged and then shipped to my house, where currently the weather outside is like -5 degrees outside. Maybe that built up a bunch of condensation inside this air spring. And you guys probably know that water is an incompressible fluid, so it does not work very good in hydraulic systems. Once I got that water out of there, retaped the fitting, put everything back together, it lifted like a dream. It's working. There we go. That was nice and smooth. That test that I did on the Legend was by far the best performance I've gotten out of this lift, and I think we're good to go from now on. As far as the construction quality and the rigidity of these QuickJacks, they are sound. I'm extremely impressed with how sturdy they are, especially being two separate units. I have seen some people complain about the hinge points sticking, causing their frames to kind of not lower evenly or get stuck, but my hinge points are extremely clean. You know, everything that can move is greased really well with nice clean grease. So I have zero complaints there. So when I'm lifting and lowering this thing, it is pretty much dead silent. There's no noise coming from the jack, no creaking or anything. The only thing you can hear is the hydraulic pump, and that sounds pretty healthy. So that's all I got for you guys today, but stay tuned and make sure you're subscribed and got your notifications on and all that good stuff, because in the future, the very near future, probably the next couple episodes here, we're going to be doing the fuel system overhaul on the Acura Legend, as well as the rear main seal, so we do have to drop the tranny on this thing. I've got some exhaust work I got to do on my 1992 Dodge Stealth. I got a new front pipe, since the flex portion of my front pipe on the Stealth is leaking right now. And after those two projects are done, I've got a huge project coming up, working on actually somebody else's vehicle. So that's going to be a really cool one. Definitely the coolest car I've ever worked on, even cooler than the Civic. So yeah, stay tuned for that, and I'll see you then. Bye-bye.